Hello, and welcome to the latest episode of the Low Budget Review Show. I am your host, Eric Smith, and today I am talking about Gill's All Fright Diner by A. Lee Martinez from Tor. Tor. And this is the book. This is the book. This is a book about Duke and Earl. Duke's a werewolf, Earl's a vampire. They're on the road. They like to drive around, cross country, just living their lives or their own lives, depending on how you look at it. They decide to stop at Gill's all night diner, and there's a zombie attack. So the owner of Gill's, who happens to be named Loretta, asks Duke and Earl if they'll help her put in a new gas line for the diner and maybe help out with her zombie problem. And they decide that they'll stick around. They could use a little extra cash, but now I'm going to go to the back cover copy. Duke and Earl suddenly find themselves facing such otherworldly complications as undead cattle, an amorous ghost, a jailbait sorceress, and the terrifying occult power of Pig Latin. And maybe, just maybe, the end of the world, too. So, for the too long didn't watch, folks, 5 out of 5 stars. This book is absolutely fantastic. It's hilarious. It's got great characters. 5 out of 5. Now, I originally read this back in 2005 when I believe the paperback came out. No, it looks like that's, 2005. First edition, May 2005. Picked it up on a whim. It looked interesting. I believe I found it at Borders Books. And loved it the first time I read it. I haven't read it since, I don't think. I think this is just the second time I've read it. And it holds up. That's the important part. Duke and Earl are great characters. They have great chemistry. If you're a fan of Hap and Leonard from Joe Lansdale, if you're a fan of the two guys whose names I can't remember from the Wolf Hunt trilogy from Jeff Strand, those sorts of character relationships, I think you're going to dig Duke and Earl. They're busting each other's chops, but they have each other's backs. And this book is hilarious. It is definitely in my top 10 funniest books I've ever read. I haven't made an official ranking or anything. I do know that I'm pretty sure Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is still number one. But the list also includes like Lamb, The Gospel According to Biff by Christopher Moore, Good Omens by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett, and the newest edition, the novelization of Attack of the Killer Tomatoes by Jeff Strand. That book had me rolling with laughter, not literally. And this is up there with those, so it might be number 5. Absolutely hilarious, and it's a small town that Duke and Earl end up in, and it's a world where, like Loretta, Duke and Earl come in, Loretta's serving them, and then she's just sort of looks past them. They're sitting at the counter. She looks past them, and she's basically like, "Oh no, not this shit again." Duke and Earl turn around, and there's a bunch of zombies. So this is something Loretta's dealt with. She's not shocked by it. She just grabs her shotgun. And then when Duke and Earl are revealed to be a werewolf and a vampire, she's just like, "I'm not gonna have any trouble with you guys, am I?" Duke's like, "Let me just get a piece of that pie." So it's not necessarily a world where, everybody knows about the existence of the supernatural and everybody just accepts it. But because of the things that have sort of gone on in this town, people aren't necessarily surprised by things that happen. There's a point where the sheriff is just like, old Bob's got a chupacabra problem again. And the casualness with which people talk about these things, I find very funny. And the situations, there are some horrifying situations, but it's the attitudes and the characters that make them funny. Even there's tension, there's plenty of tension, um, and it's sometimes offset by that humor, but there's still danger to the characters, if that makes sense. So it's very very easy to read. It's a very quick read. Duke and Earl are great, as I said. Loretta's fun. The sheriff is a good character. The Without getting too much into it, the jailbait sorceress is a fun character, and her cult of one. The amorous ghost is enjoyable, and the one with whom she is amorous. I don't want to give away too many details. Uh, so it's just that nice, light-hearted, fun horror book. It's the perfect balance. It would make a great movie or mini series. No more than just a mini series. Apparently, A. Lee Martinez has written a few short stories with Duke and Earl, but has never written another novel about them. And I was reading something that he wrote in response to a fan asking why he didn't return to them, and he says because he's just doesn't want to return to the well. Too many other worlds to tell stories in, and too many other stories to tell. I'm one of those people that would love to see another Duke and Earl book, but I completely understand why A. Lee Martinez wouldn't want to just keep dipping into that well. But yeah, Gill's All Fright Diner, A. Lee Martinez, 5 out of 5 stars. Absolutely hilarious. Some really fun concepts, some fun ideas about different supernatural archetypes, I should say. There's cosmic horror, there's zombie horror, obviously, all sorts of craziness going on. I'm not sure what else to say about it. I've read other A. Lee Martinez stuff. I've enjoyed other A. Lee Martinez stuff, but this is absolutely my favorite of what I've read from him. And as I said, it's up there with the best, funniest books, and I can't recommend it enough. Gill's All Fright Diner by A. Lee Martinez. Recommendations, pretty much anything, any of the other books that I mentioned. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, absolutely hilarious. I've read that one a few times. The rest of the books in that series, I may have read. I think maybe the first couple I've read more than once, but the later ones I've only read once, so I can't really rank them. But I absolutely recommend Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy if you're looking for something funny to read. This is basically just the books I mentioned in my top horror or funny books. Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, novelization by Jeff Strand, freaking hilarious. Good Omens, been ages since I read it, but I remember just having a blast, laughing my ass off with that. And Lamb, The Gospel According to Biff, Jesus' Childhood Friend by Christopher Moore was the book that brought me back to reading Christopher Moore. And again, laughing out loud at that book. These are all genre books, I suppose. You know, science fiction, horror, supernatural. Being there, to step away from genre, being there that I had to read for a class when I was at Bowling Green, I seem to recall finding very, very funny. I'm trying to think of like non-genre literature comedy, but bah. Who needs it? So there, I mean, again, that's my recommendations, which again is just my list of my favorite comedy books. Um, what about you? What are your favorite funny novels? Let me know in the comments below. If you have any comments, questions, or corrections, please put those in the comments below. Comments are open for spoilers. Just post spoiler warning. We try to be polite here at the Low Budget Review Show. Please like, share, and subscribe, all the usual YouTube stuff. If you'd care to follow me on other social media, I'll have links for my Instagram and Bluesky in the description below. And that's all I've got. This has been the Low Budget Review Show. I have been Eric Smith. Until next time, read more books.